this one. October baseball back in Atlanta, but the Dodgers with a 2-0 series advantage over the Braves, trying to make this a quick trip to October for Atlanta. Welcome inside with the Hall of Famer John Smoltz. I'm Joe Davis. The Braves have gotten shut out in each of the first 2 games in this series. Very simply, they're going to figure it out quickly or their season's going to come to an end. How do they get the offense going?
Well, that's a great question, but the Dodgers are the best in the National League, so you can understand the formulas work for them. But the offense is going to need some magic. They got to find ways to get on base, and when they get on base, this is the best team in baseball with runners in scoring position. So somebody's going to have to be a hero, feed off the energy of tonight's crowd, and they're home. So everything that's gone happened in the rearview mirror. Now create your own destiny.
How about the pitching? They were supposed to go with a right-hander in Kevin Gausman. At least they announced that, but at the last minute they make a change to the lefty in Sean Newcomb.
Yeah, you almost feel like if you're Brian Snitker, you got to try to do something to offset that power, because the right-handers gave up some home runs. It's only been 3 bad pitches that the Braves pitchers have had to deal with, and for Sean Newcomb, he almost threw a no-hitter, a one-hitter against this team earlier in July. So maybe the left-handed formula with guys that have been on the bench for the Dodgers might work for the Braves.
Starting pitching for the Dodgers has been something, hasn't it? Hyun-Jin Ryu, game 1 goes 7 shutout innings. Kershaw one-ups him with the 8 shutout innings in game 2. Well, the guy that's going today, the rookie Walker Buehler, you could argue that he's been better than both of those guys over the last 2 months.
He really has. He's been unbelievable. Started in St. Louis when the team needed to take 3 out of 4 just to get to this position, and then, of course, he won the tiebreaker. I think he has the best stuff on the staff, and he's becoming one of the best pitchers in the game. You think about these numbers right now, and those numbers don't bode well for anybody, yet alone the Braves. So when you've got a staff like this, you just want to keep it rolling, pass the baton on.
Tomahawk chop back in October. It feels right. The Braves and the Dodgers, with the Dodgers trying to head to the National League Championship Series for the 3rd consecutive season. The equation so far has been the long ball and the pitching. Can the Braves figure it out? They've got to in a hurry. We've got game 3 from Atlanta coming up after this. presented by Doosan on FS1. Before Game 3, let's take a look at the Dodger lineup with Chris Taylor to lead things off. And with the left-handed starter on the mound for Atlanta, this is what it looks like and what it typically does for Dave Roberts against lefties. The change tonight is that the left-handed batting Cody Bellinger also gets an opportunity with the left-handed pitcher. Let's go down to the field now. Here's Tom Verducci.
Well, Joe, this game begins with its key matchup. Sean Newcomb against Chris Taylor. Newcomb threw the Dodgers 71% fastballs this year, and Taylor, well, he eats fastballs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He's 5 for 12 against Newcomb, including the hit that broke up that near no-hitter. Against lefties, he batted .370 against fastballs, 93 and above. That's why he's batting leadoff. Dave Roberts wants him up there as much as possible against Sean Newcomb. Now for more on the Dodgers starter, here's Ken Rosenthal.
Tom, with Walker Buehler, the normal anxiety about a rookie making his first postseason start does not apply. Buehler already has pitched twice, facing arguably more pressure than he will be under tonight. September 14th, pivotal series in St. Louis, 8 scoreless innings. Last Monday night, NL West tiebreaker against Colorado, 6 2/3 scoreless. Buehler has elite stuff, a 1.55 ERA in his last 12 starts. Why would he be nervous?
And so it's Buehler on one side and it's Sean Newcomb on the other. John, that near no-hitter on July 29th, but he's not been the same guy since then. In his 10 games, which concluded with him moving to the bullpen, his ERA is near 6.
Yeah, he's had a little rough time with the command, and that's really what the balance of tonight's game is going to be. Fastball, he's hard to hit, but when he loses command, he puts free batters on base, and that's what the Dodgers do well. They take their walks and obviously utilize their power. So fastball, curveball, slider, and a man that they are hoping can offset the balance of really an offense that lives with the home run ball.
Yeah, in this series, the Dodgers are only hitting .182, but 5 of their 10 hits have been home runs, leading to 8 of the 9 runs they've scored. The 2 wins so far. 6-0 in Game 1, 3-0 in Game 2. And now in Atlanta in the postseason for the first time since 2013, off we go with ball 1. On Taylor, who, like many of these Dodgers against left-handed hitters, has been a different guy since Newcomb nearly no-hit them in July. Taylor hit .345 in September. And here on a 1-0 pitch, he drives the ball down the line, foul.
So with the fastball four-seamer that he likes to throw, if he can get the Dodgers to elevate the ball or swing up, that brings in that curveball. But then if he gets them to kind of box into the strike zone, that brings it into their favor. So it's really the cat and mouse game of how aggressive the Dodgers want to be on his fastball and try to keep it in the zone.
That's a strike with a fastball, 1-2. He threw the fastball against the Dodgers 75% of the time in that near no-hitter. Only 6 curves.
I think you'll see a little different formula this time around.
On this 1-2, he breaks one down and in, and the count evens up on Taylor.
And the nerves and the tension are what I look for in a young pitcher when he's starting in a game like this. That curveball consistency will go to either he's calm and his nerves are good, or time controlling.
Taylor smokes a liner to center that Inciarte will put away for the first out of the night. A couple Gold Gloves on his resume, part of this Braves defense, and a big part of their turnaround this season has been the defense. For the rookie Acuna in left, and Inciarte and Markakis in center and in right. Charlie Culberson starting at short, with the rookie Albies at second, and at the corners Camargo and Freeman. And Kurt Suzuki doing the catching for Brian Snitker, who's hoping that his team can figure it out. And he talked about it before the game today, but every team goes through stretches like the Braves are going through right now during the regular season. It's just at that point you say, you know, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to come out of it eventually. Well, to this point, you don't have any time to spare.
No, that's the biggest challenge in a best-of-5 series is mentally. If this were a best-of-7, they're down 2-0, it's no big deal. But because you don't have room for error and because you have to play your best baseball in a best-of-5 because of the timing, that's what the Braves are facing. So you almost have to get this mental coach, if you will, to say, hey, no big deal. We've won 3 games in a row before, by the way.
3 balls, no strikes on Justin Turner.
But I'll tell you this, when you haven't scored a run in 2 games, you can't help but get your dauber down a little bit, especially when the other 2 pitchers have dominated you and really have only had There, what is it? One extra base hit?
Yeah.
I mean, that's quieting the bats.
3-1 on Turner. Has a hit in each of the games of this series. '25-year-old from Massachusetts, Sean Newcomb, throws one in there that Turner swats the other way for a 1-out single. And the Dodgers have their first base runner tonight.
I almost think he can do that whenever he wants. I really do. And the rest of the league doesn't, and they won't.
Take a look at Ready to Go, sponsored by Supercuts. Up-to-date numbers for these two offenses. The Braves are right there as far as the number of hits. It's just the Dodgers have hit 5 home runs. Something they led the National League in during the regular season. They've got 9 players with 20 or more home runs. First at bat of this series for the veteran David Freese, who has been the best hitter in the National League since the Dodgers acquired him on August 31st, hitting .385.
I mean, that's a big separator. What the Dodgers were able to do at the trade deadline is what separates them from the rest of the league and the resources they have.
Freese cracks one on the ground is short. They go to second one. Albies to first for a double play. It's rocking in Atlanta as Sean Newcomb puts up a 0 in the first. Walker Buehler to the mound when you come back. Out of Lexington, Kentucky, Walker Buehler, who pitched the Dodgers into the postseason on game 163 on Monday. 1 hit over 6 2/3 shutout innings. And over the last 2 months, nobody's been as good as this guy in the National League.
No, they haven't. Repeats his delivery really well. Comes over the top with a phenomenal fastball, curveball combination, slider, cutter, occasional change, but he's on top of his game right now, and he's been rolling ever since. The last 28 days, we talked about 2-1 with a 1.65 ERA.
And how about this snapshot of the future of baseball as Walker Buehler gets ready to face Ronald Acuna Jr. The 20-year-old, likely leading candidate for National League Rookie of the Year, looks at a fastball strike.
Just an easy delivery, and the ball comes out of his hand, and you'll see by the hitter's reactions, the radar gun won't have to tell the story. It's whether or not they can catch up to it.
Another in 2. And you get the sense that Atlanta badly needs something to go right early in this game.
Yeah, you know, it's hard to play the perfect game. You can't tell yourself, okay, everything has to go right. You just have to grind each pitch. This should be the longest game every player on the Braves plays mentally, trying to lock in every situation to make the most of being down 2 games to none.
Acuna leading things off and striking out at a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. He's a part of this Braves lineup. Well, one of the significant changes is Ender Inciarte goes from the 7 spot to 2nd. And the veterans Freeman and Markakis. Camargo hitting 5th. Suzuki doing the catching. And the middle infield combo of Albies and Culberson 7 and 8.
Well, as a manager, you certainly can't do a whole lot when your team isn't scoring. So shuffling the lineup is about the only thing you can do, and hope that the combination works out some way, somehow, because you're facing a hot team in the Dodgers and a hot pitching staff that's got a little scoreless streak working.
Buehler's first one to Inciarte is lifted to center field for Cody Bellinger. 2 up, 2 down. They get a couple scoreless streaks going, right? There's the one back into last postseason into Game 7, and for the starting staff, they've not given up a run since last weekend.
Yeah, and that's why they're here, because for those of you who didn't follow the year, I mean, it wasn't like the Dodgers had this thing wrapped up. They had to go to the final game, and then a game after the season, 163. And sometimes the timing of that and the way you're playing, you can roll right into the postseason and not miss a beat. That's what it looks like they've done.
On the other side of that is the Braves, who dropped 4 of their final 5 after wrapping the division up with a week left. With 2 gone and the bases empty, Freddie Freeman swings at a first pitch breaking ball, and Walker Buehler goes almost 1-2-3, and he does with a nice stretch there from Freese on just 5 pitches. An official partner of Major League Baseball and is sponsored by Indeed, the world's #1 job site, and by Taco Bell. Second year of SunTrust Park, first year hosting postseason baseball as the Dodgers and Braves move along to the second. And the man that started the scoring in game 2, Manny Machado, leads things off. First pitch from Sean Newcomb. This is away. It's 1-0.
Part of what I was saying, they lose their stud shortstop and Seager, and all they can do is go out and get another stud shortstop in Machado.
Not bad. Part of several moves the Dodgers made. You're talking about leading up to the deadline. Also brought in Brian Dozier, David Freese on August 31st. A lot of that with left-handed pitching in mind, because that was a weakness for the Dodgers for much of the season. 3 balls, no strikes. But as those guys have started to get into the lineup, they've gone to a more platoon-heavy system, and one of the best in baseball against lefties. Manny Machado has a 4-pitch walk to open the second.
That's the next phase for Sean Newcomb. Love his stuff, love the makeup, but he's going to have to learn how to control the strike zone a little bit better. 81 walks on the year. He shows signs where he gets it. He goes 3 straight games during the middle of the part of the year, no runs, and then he'll run into that trouble. And the point you were talking after the Dodgers game, he ran into a little bit of that. You know, maybe deeper into the season, experiencing innings, pitch, a lot of pitches. You just have to learn how to adjust to that.
Kemp swings away at the first pitch, lofts one down the line. Long run from Markakis, won't get there, but it's foul. Yeah, he threw in that near no-hitter 134 pitches, which is the most that any pitcher's thrown in baseball over the last 3 seasons. I know for you that's like really no big deal, but in this day and age, that's a standout.
But that's my point about where we are mentally. We focus on the wrong things, and you can talk yourself into either thinking you're going to increase your injuries or thinking, oh my gosh, what happened? And I think that's what happens. We don't see it very often, and when it happens, they harp on it. And so mentally, you know, he's never been through this, and he'll learn. I guarantee he looks back on this year, he's going to learn a lot.
Not a lot of room down there in foul ground, but it clearly was foul. Stopped by Suzuki. Machado hangs on at first, and it's 1-1.
And see what happens for pitchers once they learn their release point and their mechanics. So he fights a little bit with his mechanics and release point. That's why sometimes he'll spike it, sometimes he'll throw it up. Been there, done that. Man, that takes a year or 2 sometimes, and I wonder if the industry is allowing pitchers the luxury of patience for that to be worked out, for them to figure that out.
Here he comes with a 1-1. Count hits a ground ball to third. They turned a double play in the first inning. They've turned a double play in the second. 2 out.
I don't know if enough people know what a job Camargo has done, both playing a couple positions and really just kind of holding down the third base spot. 2 double plays in your first postseason start really does help the heart rate.
Yeah.
Really
I get that under your belt.
Yeah. And you start feeling like you can do it on command.
Base is empty, 2 gone, and the reigning rookie of the year, Cody Bellinger, looks at a fastball up. It's 1-0. Brian Snitker did think that his team was a little bit wide-eyed, at least in game 1 at Dodger Stadium, with so many young guys. Back for some home cooking here in game 3. They're just hoping that it's not too late. 2-0.
Well, in this case, with Bellinger being the only left-hander, if you can get through an at-bat early without showing him the curveball, he's had 0 success on curveballs off of left-handers this year.
Well, he's going to get through it with a 97-mile-per-hour fastball. Sean Newcomb with a couple of scoreless innings. Off and rolling in Atlanta. Back here in Atlanta, Dodgers and Braves are scoreless in Game 3. The Dodgers holding a 2-0 series advantage. And the rookie Walker Buehler back to the mound, missing with his first pitch to the 34-year-old All-Star Nick Markakis. All-Star for the first time. One of the great stories in the National League this year. Finally reaching the Midsummer Classic in his 13th season. Here on a 1-0 pitch. Watches it drop low, ball 2.
The Buehler stuff's so good, it doesn't matter right or left-handed. They're virtually the same. 195 against left-handers, 191 against right. 6 home runs each, so he's not partial to whoever stands in whatever part of the batter's box.
2-0. 3 balls and no strikes. Camargo and Suzuki to follow here in the second for Atlanta. There's the splits we're talking about. Takes a deep breath, comes home with a 3-0 pitch. That's a leadoff walk for Markakis. Let's go down to Tom Verducci.
Well, you might have noticed a lot of similarities in the deliveries of Walker Buehler and Justin Verlander. And that is not a coincidence. Check out the delivery here. I want you to pay attention to the tuck position when the leg goes up and that front foot, the toes are going to point down once he tucks. The extreme shoulder tilt, and watch the hand as he releases the ball and follows through all the way behind him. Great deceleration. There's that tuck position. Now that's not a coincidence. He learned his pitching from his maternal grandfather, Dave Walker. And Dave Walker, who he called Papa, was from Michigan and a big Tigers fan. Of course, Justin was the man at the time. And now Justin's fastball at 95, Walker's at 96 and above, both in the top 10 in baseball in spin rate on that fastball. I'd say Papa did a pretty good job teaching his grandson.
And another thing, Tom, great stuff that those two guys have in common is big-time confidence. Justin Verlander and Walker Buehler. Here's an 0-1 to Johan Camargo, and he gets a swing and a miss for strike 2. Good season for Camargo. Let's continue to prove that he belongs in a full-time role for Atlanta. Batting with Markakis at first and nobody out.
The left side struggles with curveballs and sliders against right-handed pitchers. He's done a nice job. I think when you're playing a position and everyone talks about the need or upgrade, it just seemed like there were trade rumors who the Braves needed to get. Could they get a solid veteran third baseman? All this guy did is play big for him all year, come up with big hits. I think he's answered the call of what he can do in the future, at least for his year that he put forth for the Braves. But that's not easy for a young guy to hear those kind of things, especially around the trade deadline.
And it's really been 2 years of it, right?
Yes,
The Braves talking about who's their third baseman of the future, and he's like, well, I'm standing right here.
Yeah.
The 1-2 gets him with a fastball at 97, 1 out.
And this whole process, the Braves are finding things out about players, and they've got a slew of them in the minor leagues from the pitching standpoint. As you watch this electric fastball on the top of the zone. So regardless of what happens in this series, it's going to serve them well to have experienced this. Now, no one wants to experience not scoring in a series, have some success, but it's the start of something pretty special. And you hope here in Atlanta that they could turn it around and have somewhat of that consistency they had in the past.
Here's the catcher, Kurt Suzuki. And there is strike 1. Now 3 consecutive 90-loss seasons for the Braves. And most projections had them around 75 wins.
Right.
The very optimistic ones thought they could get close to 500. It was supposed to be a year of assessment for the new front office with Alex Anthopoulos taking over and then ready to build through the big free agent class, ready to pull the trigger on some trades this next offseason. Nobody saw this coming this quickly. That's down the line and foul. And the Braves are saying, when are we going to catch our break? 0-2.
Yeah, they need something like that to not only get this place electric, but get themselves their dugout. This was a hanging slider, and Suzuki hooks it just foul. Got a little flat on this slider, middle, and that'll light up any hitter's eyes when he sees that. Now, if you're Buehler, you just make a better pitch off of that, knowing you got away with one.
See what he goes to on 0-2. Going down and away with a fastball and misses. 1-2.
That fastball cut at 96, almost like a natural cutter.
Freakish in a lot of ways. 1-on-1 out and a 1-2. Suzuki with a nice take, and the count evens up.
I know we say this about a lot of young pitchers nowadays, recovering from Tommy John surgery after last year, but coming into his own and now up there in innings pitched. You would think from this point on he would be able to have no handcuffs on him the rest of the way and really blossom into that frontline starter they're hoping.
Delivers a 2-2, and Suzuki strikes out on 99. His hardest pitch of the night, 2 gone.
That's what happens when you got 99. You can get away with pitches down the middle, but when a guy's having to fight off different pitches and different quadrants of the plate because you can spin the baseball, 99 looks like 109. What could the Braves do? This guy right here has got to find a way to get on track. He's had a tough second half, especially from the left side.
21-year-old Ozzie Albies lays off a breaking ball in the dirt. That's been part of the issue for him, is rarely has he laid off pitches. They're trying to get him to chase.
And you know what I love about this game is that you can come in and surprise everybody and shock the pitching world, which is what he did in the first half. He was crushing pitches. I mean, he got to 20 home runs fast.
Led the National League in extra base hits in the first half.
And then everybody said, okay, all right, we can't afford to keep throwing first pitch fastballs. They've adjusted, and now it's going to be up to him, especially next year, to adjust. And adjust with that leg kick and try to find a balance. Because on the other side, Justin Turner has that leg kick, but it's a different leg kick than the one that Albies has. He's looking to swing from the very beginning he gets in that box. The left side, a really heavy, bigger bat that he uses from the right side.
Hacks one up the middle that'll sink in for a base hit. It's kicked by Bellinger. Markakis headed for third. He's in there safely, and with a throw going there, Albies takes advantage. Second and third with 2 gone for Atlanta.
A good sign for Albies and the Braves. Some 2-out magic here. He hits it off the end of the bat. And I think Bellinger just kind of lifts his head up as he goes. See how he lifted his head up to see what the runner was doing. And that's all it took for him to misplay that ball. He looks up, and then the ball's not in his glove. Tries to gather it. Good base running. Now puts a little pressure.
They're going to put Culberson on intentionally, and why not, with a pitcher due next. And so the bases are loaded for Sean Newcomb, who by some measures has been the worst hitting pitcher in baseball since he debuted.
And to be honest, the best pitch he's going to get to hit, I believe, is right here.
Swinging away first pitch.
And if he throws you a breaking ball, you know what? Tip your hat.
Yeah.
But if you're limited, you got to pick one out. You got nothing to lose. You've cleared the deck, and you start at the top of the order, even if you make it out in the third.
Ball 1. Best bet might be hoping Buehler can't find it.
Well, you're Dave Roberts, you have confidence in your pitcher that walking somebody with the bases loaded, you feel that your guy has command of the baseball, and that won't be an issue. I'm sure this conversation is like, look, we don't have to do too much with Newcomb at the plate. He's given up 1 hit in 33 at-bats as Buehler against pitchers. I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Here comes a 1-0. Newcomb takes ball 2, not close. When Walker Buehler has struggled this season, it's when you've seen that fastball take off like that.
He gets on the side of it. And right now, you can't swing. Remember I said the first pitch would be the best pitch? Now you can't swing almost 100% take.
With nowhere to put him, a 2-0. And ball 3 on Sean Newcomb. Show of emotion from Dave Roberts.
I'm really surprised Buehler hasn't gone to the windup.
It's a bases loaded walk to the pitcher of all people that allows the Braves to break through in Game 3.
That's a good mound visit. It almost looked like the conversation might sound like this. Looked like he was aiming the ball to the pitcher. No fear of pitcher giving up, getting a hit, and he just couldn't throw a strike. So now, with Acuna up, you're going to have to throw something other than a first pitch fastball here because he loves to swing early in the count. And of course, bases loaded.
Turning point in this rookie season for Walker Buehler was when he started to listen to his pitching coach Rick Honeycutt, his catcher Yasmani Grandal, when they said, look, your stuff is good enough where you don't have to try too hard. Just put it up there. And he stopped rushing through his delivery. Stopped seeing things like you just saw him over trying. But it rears its ugly head here and leads to the Braves' first run of this series. And now Acuna. 5 consecutive balls.
I'm really surprised they haven't gone to a secondary pitch. You've missed with the fastball in the same area.
Two and up. After a 5-pitch first. The 2-0 pitch.
Like I said, I would have thought that maybe you could go out to the mound and say, hey, the bases are loaded, 2 outs, pitch out of the windup, change something up. Because out of the stretch right now, he's gotten underneath the ball and gotten it up. It's a perfect opportunity to pitch out of the windup, but hasn't chosen to do that.
9 of his last 10 have been balls. And now with the bases loaded, it's 3-0 on Ronald Acuna Jr. You don't want to give him anything too good. Yeah, he'll take nowhere. Wow. Didn't look like it was anywhere close. And in fact, Sean Newcomb at first started to take off for second. But a gift of a strike, and it's 3-1.
Well, that was a gift. And you know what? As Acuna learns, you got to stay in there. Don't drop the bat. Don't concede anything. Get in there. Even though that pitch was a little hotter than that was a gift.
Yeah. See if you can take advantage of it. The 3-1, and Acuna swings. It's a high drive to left center field. Taylor back at the wall. It is gone. A grand slam for Acuna. Inciarte, swing and a miss, strike one. So you get a 2-out, bases loaded walk to the pitcher. And then perhaps a series-altering swing from the rookie. 5-0 Atlanta in the second.
I know that ball looked like a ball, but then he comes right back and doesn't miss a pitch, and he knows it. And I'm going to tell you something. I know this is not the World Series, so it's not a fair comparison, but the comparisons of him and Andrew Jones are eerily similar. Andrew Jones, of course, in his first World Series, 2 at-bats in Yankee Stadium, hit homers. Well, this young kid, in his first postseason experience, hits a grand slam and has been the best hitter for the Braves in the second half.
Andrew Jones did that as a 19-year-old, youngest player ever to do it. Acuna's done it at 20. Caleb Ferguson warming in the Dodger bullpen. As Buehler comes home with a 2-2 to Inciarte. Bounce past him to Hernandez at second, and the inning is over. But after they go the first 19 innings of the series without a run, they get 5 here in the second. Acuna with a swing of his life, a grand slam that makes it 5-0 Atlanta in Game 3. Highly regarded player coming up. Good player, but undersized. Didn't wow anybody as far as the scouts went. Atlanta offered him $100,000, almost double what he got from anybody else. And then stormed through the minors. And perhaps the rookie of the year coming up with his biggest swing in the postseason. So 5-0 lead for Atlanta as Sean Newcomb delivers ball 1 to Kike Hernandez. If you're Newcomb, going from your season on the line to a 5-0 lead here in the third. How does this shift the way you're feeling?
Oh, man, you can't help but feel great, but you still have to get down into the strike zone. I mean, this is the same thing that when you know, and the other team knows it, that he can lose his fastball command, you start bringing unwanted base runners rather than make them earn their way. They have to earn their way via hits. I'm telling you, sometimes this game is so crazy. You let your guard down just one little bit, and it's the difference between success and failure. The pitcher came up, and there was no threat of a hit, and Buehler didn't come close to the strike zone, and that's the, that's the maturation process. It happens. You can't explain it, but it happens.
On a 2-2, Hernandez hits it foul and stays at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And even if you go before that, remember he walked Markakis on 4 pitches to start the inning. Then he got 2 strikeouts. It looked like no big deal. Soft single from Albies, intentional walk to Culberson, then couldn't find the zone.
But the big play was allowing the runners to get to second and third.
On the air on Bellinger.
Because what that did is automatically made the decision that you're going to walk them versus first and second. You're going to pitch to them, and you're going to be on attack because you know that guy's a threat. Versus now the threat's gone. Here comes the new guy, the pitcher, and you're like, oh man, I just got to throw strikes here. And you change your perspective. It's like a shock to your system.
Another 2-2 and another foul ball. Kike Hernandez, one of the hottest hitters in the National League the last 2 months, has become an everyday player for Dave Roberts. His role was super utility man first few years with the Dodgers, but his best baseball lately. Leading off this third, working it full against Newcomb.
So that is such a really good breaking ball, but it's the command issue when it comes out of his hand. I mean, that really can start mask high. It can't even start too high sometimes because of the quality of the break.
Bounced along first and foul. So how rare is what he just did? Youngest player in postseason history with a grand slam. And the 1953 World Series, Mickey Mantle held the record previously. It's decent company. Just misses.
Whoa.
And a 10-pitch at bat for Kike Hernandez ends in a walk.
When you're in the same area a lot and you miss, or you paint like that, you get the benefit of the call. But when you're up, and then you throw one, looks like paint corner, you can surprise the umpire as well.
Crew chief Gary Cedarstrom calling balls and strikes tonight. So the leadoff man on it. Here's Yasmani Grandal. He issued a leadoff walk in the second as well, and has used double play balls in each of the first 2 innings to get rid of the base runner that he faced. Two 2-0.
Front side. Suzuki goes out to the mound, try to get him to understand. Quiet front side. Kind of throw it through my glove. And the reason this is so important, because the pitcher's on deck, you do not want the pitcher to be able to be bunting with first and second. You'd rather have him bunt, obviously, with man on first and 1 out.
You just don't want to face him with the bases loaded.
I guess not.
2-0 on the Dodger catcher. Switch hitter, much more powerful from the other side. Takes strike 1. Showed that power with a home run in game 2. 8 of the 9 runs for the Dodgers in this series have come off homers. That has been part of their story much of the year. Grandal with a fly ball to center field. Inciarte's there. 1 out. For this postseason, T-Mobile is again going to bat for hurricane recovery. You can help every time you tweet hashtag HR4HR. T-Mobile will donate another $1 to Team Rubicon. Beautiful ballpark here, huh? SunTrust Park. I know you still live in the area. It's cool seeing a host postseason ball.
Smaller park than the previous two as far as attendance goes, but quite the amenities in and around the stadium.
1-on-1 out for Buehler, who does square and take ball one. It has more seats in close proximity to the field than any park in baseball.
And that's part of the priority that they wanted. Fan experience is pretty good. Now, the only downside I see during the year is hot as it gets here, there's not much cover.
No, none.
We are in October, right? It's like 86, 87.
It's pretty muggy today. Especially coming off the lack of humidity in Los Angeles.
Used to love it. You get used to pitching in it.
Buehler lays the bunt down. Newcomb will throw him out. Well, Buehler able to advance Hernandez into scoring position for the top of the order. Old West Division rivals. What's that travel like?
Oh my gosh. You know, the only good thing about going to the West Coast 15 times in a year, this is what it seemed like. I was guaranteed golf when you go to that side. You know it's not going to rain. It's going to be nice. So that was the plus side of the travel that far. But yeah, all those years, there's a lot of travel over to the west side.
These teams have met up in the postseason a couple times. There's old John Smoltz, number 29. In fact, the last time the Braves were in the postseason, their run ended against the Dodgers, the division series in 2013. Here's Taylor, and there's ball one. The other time, 1996, it was a Brave sweep against the Dodgers. You pitched game one at Dodger Stadium, went 9 innings in a heck of a game.
One of the scariest ninth innings I've ever pitched, because on the road, I believe, I still don't understand back then when we opened on the road and finished 3 games at home. So it was, you go to the visitors park first. They quickly fixed that, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember Mike Piazza, I think it was 2 outs in a ninth in a tie game, and he hit a long fly ball. We are able to win it in the 10th, but
Bobby Cox,
the manager.
And it was your catcher, Javi Lopez, who won the game that night.
That's right.
10th inning solo shot. Hernandez at second with 2 out, and on a 2-0 pitch, Chris Taylor takes ball 3 as Newcomb again loses command of the zone.
Well, the Braves aren't going to take many chances. They've got the bullpen going just in case. They don't have a lot of room for letting this game get tight. Normally it wouldn't be any big issue with a 5-0 lead and your starter on the mound, but 2-0 deficit.
3-1. There is the guy that everybody figured was starting tonight. Newly acquired Kevin Gausman. Here comes the 3-1. That's ball 4.
You know, it's hard to have patience, but that's what you're going to have to need a little bit. I mean, Snit is not going to have, speaking of patience, not going to have much of it, I guess.
What do you think?
Well, I'm going to find out here in a second if it's just a talk or a change.
Third walk that he's issued, and he is going to make the change. Remember, Sean Newcomb threw a couple of innings on Friday night. He'll go 2 2/3 tonight. by Jim Beam. And so Newcomb is finished. Kevin Gosman, who we thought was going to start this third game, comes on already with a 5-0 lead here in the third.
Yeah, interesting. Of course, Turner's crushes anybody, whether it's left-handers or right-handers. But you only wonder if, as a starting pitcher for Gosman for most of his career, if he had the proper time to feel locked in as he comes in here with runners on first and second. And of course, Newcomb did not give Snitker enough confidence to feel like he's going to connect with the strike zone, so he went with the move.
Well, we see managers more and more aggressive all the time. And with Atlanta having no room to spare tonight, down 2-0 in this best-of-5, he's not going to wait around until it's too late. With a string of 4 consecutive right-handed hitters due up in the lineup, he goes to Gosman, and already Dave Roberts has put Max Muncy in the on-deck circle in David Freese's spot. 2 on, 2 out. Justin Turner takes ball 1.
Well, Turner has one small area you can go to, and that's down and away off the plate. But good luck trying to get him to chase that. He's that good. He commands the inner half of the plate. Look for Gosman, as you saw, first pitch slider. He's got his split finger and 4-seam fastball that he's thrown a lot more since coming over to the Braves. And he's been really good here in this park.
Nice pitch, 1-1.
That's what you got to do. You've got to be able to dot it out there, and then maybe when you get him in a defensive count, you can get him to expand. But Turner, one of the best I've seen in a long time. Just stays disciplined, looks locked in, and does not miss his pitch.
And he's led this charge, and the Dodgers' improvement with runners in scoring position. Tried to dot that same spot, but it dipped low, and Turner's ahead 2-1.
You already see Gosman pumped up with 99 miles an hour. I know the ball down always reports a little bit more on the radar gun, but still 98, 99. I don't know too many games he started where he's come into the first inning and thrown like that.
Hernandez at second, Taylor at first. 3 balls and a strike on Turner.
And that's what you worry about a little bit as a starter for most of your career. You get a little bit amped coming out of the pen, where you're in control. You warm up in a controlled fashion. You come out, walk out to the mound. There's nothing better than that. As you come out of the pen, it changes a lot.
Came over in a trade from Baltimore. He's on July 31st, and he's been fantastic for the Braves, but like you said, in a starting role. Sub-3 earned run average in his 2 months in Atlanta. Turner hits a ground ball, base hit to left. Drives home Hernandez to get the Dodgers on the board, and then it's overrun by Acuna, giving Taylor a chance to head to the plate. The Dodgers get 2 on a Turner base hit with 2 gone here in the third.
Well, it starts with in a count where Turner controlled the count, 3-1, sat on a pitch inside. Watch where they are supposed to throw it. See how it went inside? That's his sweet spot. So now he gets the base hit. 1 run's going to score. And Acuna, again, like Bellinger, before the ball went in his glove, looked up to see what the runners were doing. And this allowed another run to score. And all of a sudden, just like that, it's 5-2.
One of the Dodgers' biggest strengths is their bench, and we're about to show that strength for the first time tonight. They say, we see your bullpen, and we raise you Max Muncy. Left-handed batter takes ball 1. Muncy has been a revelation for the Dodgers this season. Last year was Chris Taylor, who came out of the middle of nowhere to have a huge year. This year it's been Max Muncy, who was released by the A's following spring training a year ago. Spent last year in AAA with the Dodgers. Opened this year there. Then has had a huge season, hitting 35 homers since getting called up. Gosman's nowhere close to the plate, 2-0.
No, he's firing in his fastballs and has a lot more velocity and pulling them instead of allowing that late movement. Understandably so, though. This is kind of new. Base open. I almost think you got to throw something off speed here. A split finger.
Stuck with the fastball, same result.
At this rate, we're going to.
Suzuki out there to talk with Gausman. He's making his first relief appearance since 2015. Now, it is worth noting that he's appeared out of the bullpen in the postseason before, but that was back in 2014 with Baltimore, so it's been a long time. For a guy who's in his 6th major league season. Newcomb watches from the dugout as Gausman walks Muncy on 4 pitches. The 4th walk tonight issued by Braves pitching. StatCast powered by Amazon Web Services. They do not chase. You know, it goes along with the fact that they hit so many home runs. They also take a lot of walks. They've got their 4th one tonight to put them at 1st and 2nd with 2 gone for Manny Machado and Chuck Hernandez out for a visit.
A lot of mound visits already early, and you can understand why. It's trying to get control over the situation and just get everybody to kind of get back to their normal, whether it's breathing or normal ability to do what they do. It's just a little bit amped up right now, and gotta trust your stuff and know that you can make those pitches.
A couple nights ago in game 2, Manny Machado started the scoring with a home run against Aníbal Sanchez. Just like that, here he is representing the tying run after the Braves got 5 in the bottom of the 2nd. Dodgers trying to rally with 2 out. Gausman still searching. Ball 1. An off-speed pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Something he's been doing a whole lot more of since he came here to Atlanta. And now finds himself facing his old Oriole teammate. The 1-1. 2 balls and a strike on Machado.
And watching him warm up and knowing how it started and then how quickly it evolved. The first inning as a starter hasn't been his greatest inning, and coming out of the pen without maybe the proper structure, you find yourself catching up. You find yourself trying to really grind out. When you miss like that as a pitcher, you know that's coming out of your hand, and it just doesn't feel right. So that's why I say if you've got your secondary pitch to go to get you feeling a little bit better.
Dangerous pitch. Machado fouls it off 3-2.
See, that was a good pitch. That was his split finger he went to on a hittable count. 3-2. Now everyone's going to be going. Even though it wasn't the greatest location, it was a different look than down and away, down and away, down and away with the fastball. You cannot give in to this count. You have to throw a secondary pitch to whatever you feel you can make look like a strike and end up as a ball. You got to think Machado will expand the zone because he wants to drive in the ball. You know, he wants to get a hit. My point is, you can't get caught up in the what if. What if I walk him? Then the bases are loaded. That can't come into your mind. You got to think, I'm going to throw this pitch because I'm going to get him to swing at it.
Runners will take off with his 3-2. Machado strikes out swinging and brings an end to this top of the 3rd inning, where the Dodgers get a couple and chase Sean Newcomb from the game. He goes to that split finger and gets Machado. Freddie Freeman starts this third for the Braves and takes ball one from Walker Buehler. 29-year-old leading this inning off with Muncy in the game at first for the Dodgers now. Freeman, of course, signed that long extension following the last trip to the postseason for the Braves in 2013 and has endured 4 losing seasons as really the only guy that stuck around while they rebuilt everything around him. He says, though, never once did he really want to leave. On a 2-0 pitch, he takes ball 3. Freddie says he feels like he still owes everything to the organization that drafted him, that signed him to that big contract. And his whole purpose became just finding a way to be there when the Braves got back to the postseason. Swings away to 3-0, 3-1.
Well, he had a scary wrist injury and then a scary hit by pitch this year on that same wrist, but was able to play the next day. And he's been the model of consistency. You can't find anything that hasn't spit out basically a 300 average, whether it's right-handed, left-handed, home, away, first half, second half, you name it. Runners in scoring position, relief pitcher. I mean, it's one of the most amazing consistencies as we see some of these numbers and you just go pencil him in every year. And lately, unfortunately, the power numbers have been a little unlike what we're used to over the last 45 games or so.
On a payoff pitch, it's a bouncer back to Buehler, and it's twice grounded out. He was a second-round pick of the Braves in 2007, and for a while he thought that he was going to turn that down, go to Cal State Fullerton, and play college ball there, study to be a CPA like his dad, but decided at the last minute that he'd sign with the Braves when they promised him that if he wanted to go back to school, they would pay for that schooling. Even once he got to pro ball, there were some times right away where he thought maybe this isn't for me. At one point, his dad hopped on a plane to go visit him in rookie ball and say, look, just stick with it. It's going to be worth it. And sure has been. Face of this franchise. 1 out in a 5-2 game in the third as Nick Markakis takes ball 1.
Well, the one thing the Atlanta Braves over the years have been able to do, and especially in their system, is produce young, excitable position players. I mean, all the way back to obviously Chipper Jones and the lights of Brian McCann and Jeff Francoeur. And I went to AA rehab. Jason Hayward and Freddie Freeman were there, and I went. They stood out. They looked different. I went, whoa. Not long before these guys get up, and they came up together, and all of them have done extremely well. And so now, with the young core players that they have, if they can start developing young pitching to go with it, sustainable pitching, you're looking at a run that could last for a while.
Here's a 1-1 down the left field line. Chris Taylor's there, and Markakis is out number 2. Well, the MLB postseason continues tomorrow. Astros and Indians are on TBS. If necessary, we'll be back here for Game 4. That's at 4 Eastern right here on FS1. And the Yankees and the Red Sox tied at a game apiece. 7:30 tomorrow night. Milwaukee Brewers are going to be sitting on their couches back in Milwaukee watching and resting up for the winner of this series in the National League Championship Series. Johan Camargo taking strike 1. Boy, they made it look easy against a tired Rockies team, didn't they?
They sure did. I mean, that's an amazing last 10 or 11 or so. You talk about, again, we talk about the timing of it all. It's perfect timing. And look at the best record in that. I mean, they went from maybe, okay, looks like they might get the wild card, to winning the division, having the best record, and hosting.
Buehler trying to get back on the beam. Home with an 0-2, and he strikes out Camargo. So 1-2-3 third for the rookie, and after 3, it's 5-2. Dodgers cruising in the first 2 games, back-to-back shutout wins. But on the strength of a Ronald Acuna grand slam in the second, it's 5-2 Atlanta here in game 3. Joe Davis, John Smoltz, Tom Verducci, Ken Rosenthal. And Matt Kemp to lead off this 4th inning for the Dodgers against Kevin Gausman. Well, Kemp, of course, spent the last year and a half here in Atlanta, and then got a call while he was out to dinner in December. It was his agent. He said, "Well, Matt, you've been traded." He said, "Okay, where?" His agent told him, and Matt started laughing and said, "Stop lying. There's no way I'm headed back to Los Angeles." And then it was made clear to him right away that they were going to try to move his contract. This was just a salary swap. But with no deal, they were open to him competing for a spot. He won it. What a year he's had. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, that's the pitch off the right-handers that has given him fits, and that's changeup. For him, it's a split right here. Matt Kemp has handled right-handers really well, except for changeups. Loves to hit the ball, fastball, inner half. But the probability of what you're saying and how it played out for the LA Dodgers is off the charts.
Off the charts bad, like it wasn't going to happen.
Right, like he made the All-Star team. He saved their first half. It was a struggling first half for the team. And what a year. He lost a bunch of weight, went back out there.
Fouls it off, stays alive.
And he was having a good year for the Braves here, but he had a couple injuries that kind of derailed it. And then, you know, when you talk about the trade was going to be a wash for salaries in different ways. And it's been great for the reunion for Matt Kemp and the Dodgers.
First 9 years of his career with the Dodgers. Now 34 years old. He celebrated his birthday a couple weeks ago. 13th year in the majors. Leading off this 4th against Kevin Gausman. And hitting a bouncing ball to the guy that he was traded for. Charlie Culberson, 1 gone. Let's go down to Kenny.
Joe, when that trade was announced, fans, media, even some people in baseball said, "What?" No one understood it at first, but the sole intent from the Dodgers' perspective was to get under the luxury tax threshold. Basically, that swap enabled them to do that. Kemp's money was spread over 2 years, 3 of the veterans coming to the Braves, Scott Kazmir, Brandon McCarthy, and remember this guy, Adrian Gonzalez. They had 1 year left. Culberson also came in the deal. He had 4 years to go. Kemp, the point with him, he was never going to make the team. That was not the idea at all. And yet, he got himself into shape and changed the entire outlook on that deal.
And like both you guys said, changed the entire outlook on the first half of the season for the Dodgers. So important with Corey Seager down at the end of April with the Tommy John surgery. No Justin Turner until mid-May. Other guys got off to slow starts. Matt Kemp carried them and started the All-Star game. 1 ball, 1 strike on Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, it really was amazing, and you could tell that his appreciation for playing not only in LA, but playing again at the level that he wanted to play. He made hard work in the offseason, lost that weight, got in great shape, and fully understood what was in front of him, by the way.
Yeah, the Dodgers made it clear to him that they wanted to move him from day one. That they didn't acquire him to have him be their left fielder. His team down 5-2 in the 4th as Bellinger strikes out, and that splitter started to work for Kevin Gausman.
Yeah, you can see the last 2 he threw to strike out. Machado looks more normal as a starter type, and he's settled down and he's not overthrowing. There's the movement. And of course, the only way you can equalize these left-handed hitters of the Dodgers and their power is to get it looking like a fastball or looking like it's hittable and then have it move out of the zone.
Gausman trying to put up the first 1-2-3 inning of the night for Braves pitching, and he's ahead of Fernandez with that same pitch. 0-1.
Fernandez turns into a different beast with nobody on. 18 solo home runs. Kind of a different approach.
18 of his 21 total this year. Career high for him. Here's a 1-1. A ball and 2 strikes. Going up with a fastball, and Hernandez watches it. 2-2. Too high for that to be meaningful.
I never understand a catcher standing up, but you know what? He got it up there.
Now going down, Hernandez fouls it.
Just don't understand that far up what that's trying to set up. If you got a big breaking ball and you want to throw it top of the zone, that was old time. That was Yogi Berra standing up.
Way up there. 2-2. Hernandez lays off. Gosman home with a payoff. Another splitter and a strikeout. 1-2-3 inning for Kevin Gosman and these Atlanta Braves with a 5-2 advantage to the bottom of the 4th. Trying to force game 4 tomorrow. Free skills competition for boys and girls ages 7 through 14. You can sign up now to host a free competition in your local community at pitchhitrun.com. Strike one from Walker Buehler to Kurt Suzuki. A rookie from Lexington, giving up the 5 runs in the second, walking the pitcher Newcomb with the bases loaded, and then the grand slam for Ronald Acuna. About to throw his 50th pitch of the night here in the fourth. 0-2.
There's the spray chart. Suzuki does a nice job against right-handers as opposed to Flowers, much better against left-handers. Not to mention tonight's starter, Newcomb, has had better success statistically with Suzuki, ERA-wise, that is.
StatCast powered by Amazon Web Services. Suzuki waits on another 0-2 from Walker Buehler. One-two. Flip behind first for Max Muncy. Near the sidewall, he's out of room.
That was added for the playoffs, I do believe.
Yeah. New seating just took an out away from Walker Buehler. Some good views down there. Closer to the action than the players in the dugout.
Be careful though. Head on the swivel.
Another foul ball, still 1-2.
You know, we were talking about what the Braves have developed, but the model organization forever has always been the Dodgers, and they're developing. They had a stronghold on the rookie of the years forever. And just what they did last year in Bellinger's breakout year, and of course Puig a few years back when he came in. And even though Max Muncy's not a rookie, boy, he's had the fill in for what no one could have expected after being released.
Now, the Dodgers have had 18 rookie of the year winners. Nobody else has more than 8.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not even close.
Goes back to Jackie Robinson in 1947. A couple runs like you were talking about, where at 4 years in a row winning it, 5 years in a row.
That's just amazing when you really think about how that works.
Suzuki flies one to center. There is the last rookie of the year in Bellinger for the first out. And the system's still very strong, even though they've been able to trade some prospects away to bring in big pieces at the deadline each of the last couple of years. Yu Darvish last year, Manny Machado at the head of that list this year. Traded 5 prospects for Manny Machado, but really just one highly regarded.
6 divisions in a row that they have won, and I would still say they have a ton of pressure on them. And what I mean by that is, you know, you think about the rich history and how proud this organization is, but they haven't won a World Series in over 30 years. So that just tells you how hard it is and how quick things can change. And of course, last year, one game away, I mean, game 7 from ending that. There's Tommy Lasorda. Still getting around.
Ozzie Albies. It's a fly ball to right center field that sends Kemp back. Bellinger with him on the track, leaping to catch it for the second out. That thing hung in the air forever and allowed Bellinger to get there.
Well, that's that big bat, heavy bat. He just kind of drops the barrel on it. People just don't understand how strong this kid is. And when this park was first initiated, the balls were jumping out of here in a record pace, and it's settled in. Now you really earned your keep as a hitter if you're able to get home runs.
Charlie Culberson takes ball 1.
And when this first part, I mean, I couldn't believe it at first. You never know when all the construction's done and when things settle and all the different things around here have now been built up.
this park, that ball was jumping, and this year it's played pretty true.
Yeah, it's gone from last year, in the first year before all the construction was done, one of the most homer-friendly parks in the game, to the point where people around here were like, uh-oh, we're going to have a problem like they do in Denver and in Arizona. But this year, the other end of that. Only San Francisco and Miami had fewer home runs during the regular season. 2-1 on Culberson.
Yeah, I went from the launching pad in Fulton County to Turner Field. I think a classic baseball stadium, and they've done a nice job here, as you've seen the surroundings. Smaller, quaint, fair.
Fooled him, 2-2.
Although I am very envious, I'm going to be honest, with the amenities that the players have today.
Like those clubhouses.
Oh, we didn't have it bad. I'm not complaining like we didn't have it bad. It's not that. It's just they've got it really good right now. Good for them.
The 2-2. Culberson down on strikes. Walker Buehler with a 1-2-3-4 for the Braves with a 5-2 lead. Tomahawk chop back in the postseason. Acuna's grand slam, the big swing through 4. The NLDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by T-Mobile. Whether you're home or away, T-Mobile has you covered. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Braves 5, Dodgers 2 to the 5th. Kevin Gausman to Yasmani Grandal with ball 1. What do you thought of Gausman so far, who came on for Newcomb in the 3rd?
Yeah, obvious concern when he first came in. A totally different pitcher now. Settled in, doesn't overthrow, hasn't overthrown really anything. And he's relied on the thing that makes him real special, and the fact that he's got that fastball. He really has 2 pitches. I mean, he'll throw 3, but he relies on fastball. And when you can get fastball command and drop that split off of it, that's the equalizer that the Braves were hoping that these left-handers wouldn't recognize it.
Grandal takes it, and he's ahead 3-0.
But the key, of course, is getting ahead. And the Braves have not gotten ahead at all tonight on first pitch. They're pitching behind in the count a lot, flirting with danger.
4-pitch walk starts the fifth. The fifth walk tonight for the Dodgers in this postseason. T-Mobile is again going to bat for hurricane recovery. You can help. Every time you tweet hashtag HR4HR, T-Mobile will donate another $1 to Team Rubicon. Here's Buehler.
Obvious bunting situation here. Did a good job the first time. Camargo will sneak in as far as he can to crash, but Buehler knows he's got a bunt somewhere between the pitcher's mound and Freddie Freeman, who will crash off the bag as soon as the pitch is thrown.
Yes! Bunts through it, strike one. Time for the Budweiser game summary. Braves didn't score over the first 2 games of this series. Then they got 5 in the second. If you happen to miss that second inning, the first run came when Sean Newcomb, Atlanta's pitcher, walked with the bases loaded. Next batter up, Ronald Acuna hit a grand slam. Buehler attempting to sacrifice here is now behind 1-2.
What's interesting about if Gausman throws the split and the spin of the split actually is easier to bunt if you don't jab at it. The fastball is the one that you could pop up or foul off.
Now he took a fastball for strike 3. Buehler unable to move the runner up. Here comes Chris Taylor.
Breakout year last year for Chris Taylor, and really what was everything kind of pointing in the direction of why they went to the World Series. Some of the performances they were getting unexpectedly. I always say a championship club, great players have to do what they do. Your good players have to play great, and you got to get unexpected play that you never saw coming. And that's exactly the way the Dodgers had their year play out last year.
He's a guy, John, that came over in a completely under the radar trade from Seattle, June of 2016. Saw some time with the Dodgers that year, but then made a swing change. Had a huge regular season, even bigger postseason, MVP of the National League Championship Series. And how about the way he started the World Series, homering on the very first pitch?
No, I mean, you rarely see a guy wholesale change everything about his mechanics and have instant success. And really rode that to an incredible year. And now you just wonder how sustainable it is, and learning how to continue again to adjust and refine that swing change. I mean, some of these guys in their quest to changing their swing are selling out and lifting and just trying to launch.
On a 2-1, Taylor fouls it, 2-2. And this has not been as good of a season as last year was. And the biggest issue has been the strikeouts. In fact, he struck out more than any player in the National League, although finished very strongly. Lifts a fly ball to left. Acuna turns and watches this one go. The Dodgers right back in this game on a home run from Chris Taylor. From down 5-0 to knocking on the door at 5-4 here in the fifth.
I'm telling you, his swing didn't change from 2 pitches. Here's the pitch before, and look at the swing that he had when he missed it. Okay, watch that swing. All right, that tells me something as a starting pitcher or a pitcher in general. And then he got the area that he wanted, and it was the same swing, different location. And we just got done talking about how he's universally changed the way he approaches the baseball and got that one up in the air.
And now Turner in a 1-run game in the 5th. How about the fact that Chris Taylor started this game because Sean Newcomb, the left-handed pitcher, was on the mound. That's the only reason that he's in there. But he stays in with the righty Kevin Gausman. And it's Gausman that he strikes against. 11-2 on Turner.
Part of that also is some of the left-handers that Brian Snitker has available that more than likely he's going to bring in. And maybe that saves some of those changes that Dave Roberts was going to make. Well, when you see, you know, Ryu, Kershaw didn't give up a run, didn't walk a guy. The one thing that has cost the Braves, and they were really good this year, pitching wise, ERA ranks, is walks.
Bounce to third. Camargo will take his time and throw him out. 2 away as we look back at Chris Taylor's home run.
Not your typical 2-strike swing. He didn't deviate at all. I mean, that's the same follow through he had on the foul ball, only he got it in the area he wanted. Looks like that's going to be it for Gausman.
With the left-handed batting Max Muncy ready to come up. Max Fried will come in a 1-run game. Wentz and the Eagles against Saquon Barkley and the Giants. Fierce divisional showdown, all starting at 7:30 Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime Video. Giants with a tough loss today. Graham Gano's 63-yard field goal as time expires. Kevin Gausman's night ends and Max Fried comes on.
Electric arm, really, really good breaking ball.
The left-handed batting Muncy throws that breaking ball 1-0.
I'm telling you, that's going to be a weapon if this game stays the way it is. His as far as the style of hitting. Max Fried's going to be able to expose some guys.
Throws it again, 1-1. Fried grew up a diehard Dodger fan. Playing in the Encino Little League in Los Angeles. It's the 1-1 fly. 3 consecutive curves in ahead of Muncy, 1-2.
As much as the Dodgers like Caleb Ferguson in the future that he has, I think Braves are going to like seeing this young man develop.
Modeled that curveball after watching Clayton Kershaw and watching old video of Sandy Koufax.
Oh, it's a good one.
A 1-2.
Now, the only thing about that right there, showing him that many in a row, coming upstairs or up and away with a fastball, just changing. You've slowed the hitter down, slowed him down with really good breaking balls. Now, this would call for a fastball, not in, but away.
Looks like they're going up. It was a fastball, but it's too far up there.
Yeah. You just don't need to stand up. Once a pitch is that high, you have to be such a free swinger. I mean,
Which he's not.
You just wasted a pitch. You just need to make it tempting.
2-2. Back to the curve, and Muncy lifts it to deep center. That ball is gone. And this game is tied.
Product of seeing too many in one at bat, and that was not a good one, obviously. And Max Muncy has been doing this all year. Gets his pitch, doesn't miss it. This is a breaking ball that's up, and he knows it. The hitter knows that as soon as he makes contact.
5-0 lead for Atlanta has disappeared as the Dodgers have hit a pair of home runs here in the 5th. And now it's Machado.
They're painful lessons, but he'll learn from that. Any pitcher who goes through situations when you sit there and you look at those first 3 curveballs, how good they were. You don't need to make them better, but then set up by the high fastball. That really wasn't even anywhere close.
And now he's fallen behind Machado. 3 balls, no strikes.
People have no clue what it's like being a young player and experiencing this for the first time. I mean, it is rare that you ever pitch in a regular season game where the crowd's on their feet. Crowd intensity's at the highest. There's nothing greater, but there's nothing more frustrating either, because your body and the way you feel, the way your mind races.
On a 3-1, a curve is lifted to left center. Acuna back onto the track at the wall to make the catch. And finish the Dodgers off in the 5th. But they get a pair of home runs. They've gone from down 5-0 to tied at 5. We are halfway home in Game 3 in Atlanta. on FS1. Now tied at 5. Walker Buehler, who has given up as many runs as he has in any outing this year. And there for the bottom of the 5th. 63 pitches so far. And a pinch hitter out of the 9 spot here. Taking ball 1. This is Ryan Flaherty. Got off to a great start this season for the Braves, and in fact was leading the National League batting race after about a month and a half before Johan Camargo got healthy, took over third base. 2-0. Buehler, since the grand slam from Acuna in the 2nd inning, has retired 7 straight. He's home with a 2-0. Finds the corner, strike 1.
Yeah, much like Flaherty and others had to contribute early for the Braves. A lot of guys contributed to this surprising year and the run to the top.
Chopper to Hernandez, who charges and throws wide. Muncy comes off of the bag to catch it. Flaherty's the first out of the 5th. Up comes Acuna, and we go down to Ken Rosenthal.
Well, Joe, it's difficult to remember this now, but just before the All-Star break, Brian Snitker went to hitting coach Kevin Seitzer and said, Acuna needs to make some adjustments. I can't watch it anymore. Seitzer was thinking the same way. Acuna was out of control with his swing. It was too big, too violent. So here's what he did. He lowered his hands, moved them away from his body, also had Acuna begin to hold the bat more vertically. Acuna also went to a slightly more open stance, and it was at that point he took off.
And the 20-year-old batting with the bases empty, rips and misses, strike 1.
Well, it's an amazing credit to how strong he is, because I don't know long term if he can stay with that kind of hitting approach where he's generating everything from the strength, right? He holds his hands pretty still, doesn't have that violent movement, but isn't creating much movement going backwards either. So it's a credit to him, because as we keep saying, like a broken record, you will learn, you will have to adjust, and the greats always do. Very few do come in the leagues hitting a certain way and stay that way the entire time. Although Mike Trout might be proving that wrong.
That's fouled, and it's 1-2. Acuna, who is from a long line of baseball players in his family. His grandpa was a hard-throwing minor league pitcher in the Houston system in the 1970s. His dad, Ron Acuna Sr., an outfielder in the Mets organization in the early 2000s, and a very good one. He strikes out on a high fastball. 2 gone here in the 5th.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Now, not everybody has Buehler's arm and can do that, but that's going to be the most vulnerable part of a young hitter, where his hands are and trying to be able to get on top of that ball. It's going to be very difficult.
It's been an interesting game, huh? I mean, the Braves race out to that 5-0 lead, and they're thinking, okay, we're going to force game 4. But you blink and the pressure's right back on them in this elimination game.
Unfortunately for the Braves, they're going through a lot right now, trying to get to that next point, trying to extend this series. And they've gone through the emotion of 2 days of no runs, long trip back, delayed in getting back way early in the morning, late in the morning in this case, and then they jump out to the 5-0 lead. So they've dealt with this all year. They've dealt with their streaks, hot and cold, and it's what makes them unique. I mean, they are a resilient bunch, but it's a young, learn-on-the-fly team that's getting a taste of postseason.
Here's the 1-1 to Ender Inciarte, and he watches him miss ball 2. They've got 20-year-old Acuna. They've got 21-year-old Albies. Camargo's 24. Their almost shortstop Dansby Swanson, he's 24. A couple veterans sprinkled in there as well. Guys like Markakis and Suzuki, and you can call Freeman that at this point. But very little postseason experience even for those guys. Right. A 2-1. Ball 3.
Dave Roberts stayed patient with his young pitcher and Buehler, and I guess that's part of the luxury of having a 2-0 lead in the series and not having to go to your bullpen and confidence in your offense that they're going to catch up.
Full count. Two gone, fifth inning, tie game. Ciarte hitting out of the 2 spot tonight. He hit 7th in each of the first 2 games of this series. So far, he's 0 for 2. The payoff. Drops in to get him. And since the home run from Acuna, Walker Buehler has retired 10 straight. By State Farm. Tied at 5 to the 6th here in game 3. That kept to lead things off against Tuki Toussaint, who whips a fastball in there at 95.
Tuki Toussaint has a lot of different weapons and angles to get you out. Sky's the limit again for him. Breaking ball, good changeup, and just that long arm delivery. Funky enough to create a different illusion for the hitter at the plate.
2-1. He's hit another one of these young guys the Braves are so excited about. Just 22, caught up in early August.
You see when the hand comes out of his glove, watch how long it takes for him to deliver, and by the time he strides out, less reaction time for the hitter.
2-2.
So that perceived velocity, when you hear about perceived velocity, it really has more to do with the stride length than when you're releasing the ball. So a shorter stride length, the ball's not going to have more perceived velocity.
You see the break on that pitch from Matt Kemp's perspective.
The reaction time is somewhere in the neighborhood of .001 to make up your mind on whether to recognize a ball or a strike, and whether to swing or not.
Kemp drives one to left center field. Acuna turns and watches this one bounce into the seats for a leadoff double. So the go-ahead run in scoring position to open the sixth for the Dodgers.
Well, tried to get the fastball away and ended up being down the middle, and one of the patented swings. Matt Kemp is classic over the years. Another guy in the lineup because of the left-handed starter on the mound for the Braves stayed in there, faces a righty, and rewards Dave Roberts.
Cody Bellinger getting ready to bat, and we check in with Tom Verducci.
Well, Joe, the Braves pitching staff has hit or walked 14 batters in this series. 6 of them has scored. Now, that's not totally unexpected. This young Braves staff walked more batters than any staff in the league, and the Dodgers, as hitters, walked more than anybody. So you're seeing that come into play. If there's a mantra for the Dodgers offense, it's control the strike zone. And when they force pitchers into the strike zone, well, that's when the long ball comes into play.
It has twice more tonight. That's a ball on Bellinger. They've hit 7 home runs in this series. 7 of their 15 hits. Toussaint's 1-0 is in the dirt. Suzuki stops it, ball 2.
Well, we're in the 6th, and I've never seen a team come close to using up their mound visits.
Yeah.
2 left.
Yeah.
For the Braves.
Bellinger will move the runner up with a bouncer to the right side. He's got good speed, so Albies needed to hurry. Was able to get him, but Kemp moves to third, 1 gone.
Albies made a play look routine that wasn't really routine, and you talk about the sprint speed of Bellinger is incredible. I mean, this ball has a little in between hop, and now he's got to make a little short kind of firm throw just in time, and that'll put pressure on the infield. Now they'll have to play the infield in. Good job by Cody Bellinger.
So the go-ahead run now 90 feet away, and as you mentioned, infield comes in with Kike Hernandez coming up. Takes a first pitch breaking ball for a strike. Hernandez 0 for 1 tonight. He walked in a 10-pitch plate appearance his first time. Worked it full his next time up as well before striking out.
The reason, besides the obvious, this is such a big at bat here. They can walk Grandal if they get out Hernandez, because unless they're secretly throwing, well, they are throwing in the bullpen now. They have to force the hand of Dave Roberts.
Alex Wood. The rookie Toussaint looking for a big strikeout. He comes set for an 0-2. He'll do it again. Hernandez rolls it along third, but foul.
Kemp had a huge lead and jump, so much for letting the ball get through.
Kenny?
John, the reason you didn't see a team exhaust at mound visits this year was because it hardly ever happened. Just 28 times all season did a team use all 6.
Figured it would come into play more in the postseason, and boy, it's knocking on the door of being an issue late here. 5-5 in the 6th. Kemp at third with 1 out. 0-2. Chopper. Here comes Kemp. Culberson comes home. He's out at the plate. And the game stays tied at 5.
Well, he's going on contact. There's a secondary lead, and he goes right away, and a good throw. A good play by Suzuki as Kemp tried to get in on the outside part. Looked like for a minute he was going to have a view of the plate, and then he didn't. I think Dave Roberts is maybe going to want. And never mind. I don't think he's going to play at the plate. Only the way the throw can take you to block the plate.
Kemp was involved in one of those plays earlier this summer with Robinson Torinos of the Texas Rangers, where it was a collision. Both guys were suspended. But they'll say play on. Still tied at 5. Hernandez now at first with 2 gone, and Yasmani Grandal takes ball 1. What a stop by Suzuki. The added irony of that last play is that it was a former Dodger and Culberson throwing out the former Brave and Kemp, 2 guys that were traded for each other this offseason. It's a strike, 1-1.
I'm sure Suzuki's glad the rule change has been made, because Kemp is a big human being coming straight downhill. That would have definitely ended in a collision at home.
Grandal ahead 2-1. Led National League catchers in home runs. Hit a home run in game 2. Hernandez at first and 2 gone. He takes one that's not close. 3 balls and a strike on Yasmani Grandal. Walker Buehler still back there in the dugout.
He was on deck, but then they've moved him.
Put Puig in the on deck circle.
Puig in the on deck circle.
Just misses. Another walk issued by Braves pitching. First and second with 2 gone. And they've announced Puig.
Well, this is a really good pitch, but it does miss outside. Good discipline. Wasn't the pitch that Grandal wanted anyways. And then the 5th meeting of the mound now for Suzuki.
So just 1 left.
But it doesn't count because of a pinch hitter.
Yep, you're right. You're right. So it'll still be 2. Puig is the pinch hitter. Take a look at the player resume sponsored by Indeed.com. One of the many Dodgers that has gotten it done with home runs this year.
Now here's the interesting thing about Puig that is so hard for an opposing manager. He's dominated right-handed pitchers compared to left-handers. Had a really strange year against left-handed pitchers. Vendors is warming up, but it's so hard to bring in a left-hander to face a right-hander. But the stats and the numbers say you probably should.
So they stick with a righty-righty, and Puig takes strike 1.
Just a hard thing to get your head around, even though you know the numbers don't favor the matchup.
Braves led this game 5-0. Now tied at 5 as Puig takes way off of the plate inside 1-1. Peterson still available off Dave Roberts' bench. Again takes inside and is ahead 2-1. Bench one of the strengths of this Dodger team. Dave Roberts flexing those muscles as this game goes on. Three and one. After Puig gets Taylor. His 2-run home run brought the Dodgers within 1. Before Muncy tied it with a solo shot. Full count.
See, that's where Puig likes the ball, and you can actually do the same thing here. Make the pitch look like a strike over the middle of the plate, breaking down, and you get Puig to expand the zone. He rarely expands it up. Likes it in, likes it down. That's the area you got to go to.
There they go. Here it comes. He takes it down and away for ball 4 to load the bases.
See how he wanted to swing, and that pitch was not close enough. If that starts anywhere close over the middle of the plate, Puig can't hold up.
Instead, John, it's the 7th walk tonight by Braves pitching.
It was the right pitch. He pulled it, meaning he wanted to make such a good quality breaking ball that it never even came close out of the hand. But see how he wanted to go after it? So that tells you at a 3-2 count how aggressive the hitter's going to be. That you don't have to throw a strike. You just have to make it look like a strike out of the hand.
This is now officially the 5th visit, so the Braves down to 1 left in the 6th inning. Sabaka has started to warm. Johnny Venters has been warming for a while.
Well, tough spot for some of these Braves young pitchers, just being in situations they've never been in before. I'm sure they've been in this situation in regular season, but it's nowhere close to the postseason and the attention to detail, and obviously here at your home park where everybody's anxious to get in the dugout.
Chris Taylor, who just became an everyday player last year, has 4 grand slams in his career. Hernandez at 3rd. Grandal at 2nd. Puig at 1st. Taylor takes ball 1. Hardly watch. Two 2-0 with nowhere to put him.
Well, it'll be awfully tough for this young man to throw a breaking ball 2-0 count. So you got to believe Taylor's sitting dead red, looking at one area of the ball, one area of the plate.
2-0.
He was sitting dead red. Toussaint threw a nice fastball away. Violent swing. Just seems like.
Trying for that 5th career grand slam with that rip. A 2-1 pitch. Taylor cracks his bat on a roller to 3rd. Camargo throws and gets him. And the Braves get out of the inning with a game still tied at 5. Doosan on FS1. The Dodgers and Braves are tied at 5 as Dave Roberts goes to his bullpen and Alex Wood comes on to face Freddie Freeman. That ball is gone and the Braves are back in front.
Former teammates, Freddie went up there looking at one pitch and one pitch only, and he got it. And Puig didn't even move. This ball was hit so far.
Now Markakis takes a strike. Before Alex Wood can even gather his bearings, pitching against his old team, Freeman ambushes the first pitch and gives the Braves the lead again. One ball, one strike. Ryan Madsen, veteran reliever, starting to warm. Alex Wood, the converted starter, moved into the bullpen in early September. It's a rude greeting from Freeman. Here comes his 1-1. Markakis with a late swing and a miss, strike 2.
Well, Alex is, since he came over from the Braves, has really been pretty good for the Dodgers, especially last year out of the rotation. Funky mechanics, but he repeats it.
Two and two. For the Braves, not just their first run since the second, their first base runner since Acuna cleared the bases with a grand slam that made it 5-0. Dodgers then scored 5 straight before Freeman broke the tie here in the 6th. The best buddies over there, Acuna and Albies, something to smile about again. The 2-2. Ground ball to short. Well positioned Machado gets Markakis, and we go back to that home run from Freeman.
Much needed homer from Freddie. We've talked about the homer drought over the last 45, but he got it and he didn't miss it. He has that unique follow through, almost kind of sawed off finish, and nobody had to move in right field except for the people in the stands trying to catch it.
Dave Roberts going to make a change. Alex Wood leaves the ball game with the Braves in front. Baseball, the only place to get it all. Live radio feeds, video highlights, pitch tracking, and plenty more. Download MLB At Bat today. This is how they do the tomahawk chop in 2018. The cell phones. Brian Madsen on to pitch with the Braves in front again. Freddie Freeman's first pitch home run against Alex Wood. Now Johan Camargo taking ball one.
That's another long arm, big guy delivery that has a good fastball down in the zone with a good changeup. Slider, ball cut, and a curveball. That's the signature pitch, changeup.
Dodgers got him from Washington at the end of August. 46 postseason games on his resume. 3 World Series trips. Won a couple. Philadelphia in 2008. The Royals in 15. Camargo fouls it off 1-2. Only Mariano Rivera has struck out more hitters among relief pitchers in postseason history. It's a trivia question I don't think I would have got.
Wow, that's a great nugget.
Can add one to that list as he uses his signature pitch to get Camargo.
Well, and again, there's many themes in this series. A lot of them have played out, but especially from the pitching staff for the Braves, not a lot of experience in postseason innings. And you've seen at times where that has come into play, some nervousness and some lack of control. But throughout the year, they had some of these control issues. So it's not just all about inexperience, but they're getting valuable time under the gun.
Kurt Suzuki with 2 gone, lashes one to right. That's a base hit to keep this 6th inning going. And now here's Albies. Strike one.
I'm just telling you, I heard him talk about what he's trying to do from the left side. He literally is trying to throw that big bat, that barrel at the ball. He did. He threw it. He threw it. Just unfortunately didn't make contact.
It's the largest bat that any Braves hitter uses. It's tied with Lucas Duda, who's a big fella. Ozzie not a big guy. Depending on what roster or what database you look at, 5'7"-ish, 165 pounds or so. On an 0-1, he flies one to center field for Cody Bellinger. But on the first pitch of the 6th inning, Freddie Freeman jumps on Alex Wood's offering and breaks the tie here in Game 3. tomorrow. The Astros and the Indians playing at 1:30. Will there be a Game 4 in this series? If there is, we'll have it at 4 Eastern on FS1. And the Red Sox and Yankees head to the Bronx tied at a game apiece. Justin Turner leads off this 7th and takes strike 1 at 98 miles per hour. Sabaka now on to pitch for the Braves. The bullpen carousel continues. Rookie pitched an inning in Game 1. Gave up 1 unearned run. He's back home with an 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike on Turner.
Well, the young, promising arm, electric fastball. Command. Can get away from him. Got to trust that breaking ball. That is a weapon and hard to pick up after a fastball.
Well, you talk about trusting him. If you're Brian Snitker, bringing him on for 2, 3, and 4 in the Dodger order. Turner, Muncy, and Machado. The 2-1. Turner hits a fly ball to center field. Inciarte started on, now goes back with room for out number 1. And now it's Muncy, the guy that tied it earlier.
The key to this series, I thought, for either team was this. The team who had to go to their bullpen the most was not going to be in a better spot to be successful. And so far, the Dodgers obviously using their starters, and rightfully so. They didn't give up any runs until tonight. The Braves being pressed.
Bullpen for Atlanta, which was their biggest issue down the stretch this season. One of the worst in baseball over the final month. It's actually been pretty darn good. Once he fouls it, 1-1. Muncy ahead, 2 balls, 1 strike. Here's that home run to tie the game in the 5th.
He knew it.
Hit against the left-handed Freed. Now facing the righty Sabaka, taking ball 3. Guy that considered retirement a year and a half ago after the A's released him. Thought he'd go back to Baylor and finish his business degree. He's about 10 degrees short of that. He knew that if he ever got another chance to get back to the majors, he'd promise himself to enjoy it more. Rips a ground ball, but right at Ozzie Albies. Muncy's the first or the second out here in the 7th.
The Dodgers are a bad example for these young pitchers who have great stuff that most of the time hitters are going to swing at it, because there isn't as many teams as disciplined as the Dodgers. So when you see them, when you're out on the mound and you see a guy lay off a real good secondary pitch, you're like, you're confused, and you just have to find a way to be able to pound strikes and then use that weapon that you have. But the Dodgers just do a good job of being patient, making the pitcher come to you.
Tonight they've drawn 7 walks. Machado has 1 of those. 0 for 2. Backed up on him for ball 2.
Here's a perfect example of what the Dodgers do to you. 2-0 pitch. They're going to make you throw the ball in the area they're looking, and if they see it, they're going to unleash. If you can hit with your secondary pitches behind the count, you'll have success.
The 2-0. Machado had 1, popped it up. Left side of the infield, Camargo to finish the inning, sending us to the stretch in Atlanta. Play of the game presented by Hankook Tire. On the first pitch, the sixth inning, Freddie Freeman attacks Alex Wood and put the Braves ahead 6-5 as they try to extend this series to Monday afternoon. To the bottom of the seventh we go in a 6-5 game. The NLDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by Hankook Tire. Chase down your passion, never halfway. And by T-Mobile, whether you're home or away, T-Mobile has you covered. You can't beat the freeze.
Cannot. Everyone tries.
It's happened a handful of times, though.
Yeah, that's because the leads were too big.
Right. Couldn't keep up. Latest man out of the bullpen for Dave Roberts, Pedro Baez, who had been used in high leverage situations earlier in his career, kind of faded to the back of the line as far as that goes, but had a huge final couple months of the season and is again somebody Dave Roberts trusts.
Really good stuff. Only knock is it takes a long time to get it done. He'll take his time between pitches, that's for sure.
8-9-1 for the Braves. Charlie Culberson taking ball one.
Yeah, for broadcasters, when he gets in, that's when, if you've got a lot of stuff you want to get in,
story time.
This is the time. You want to get it in, tell your stories, and he will cooperate. He'll let you get him in.
Well, let me open up my notes and see what we got. 1-1 on Culberson. Baez's last 19 games, a 0.47 earned run average. Delivers the 1-1 to Charlie Culberson. He gets a swing and a miss with a fastball at 96. Lucas Duda in the on deck circle. Scott Alexander starting to walk for Dave Roberts. The 1-2.
The Braves ideally would like to finish this game with Minters and Vizcaino. Minters has not been able to check in yet. He's warming up in the bullpen, and that would be the formula for Brian Snitker and the Braves to extend this to a game 4.
Minter on a 2-2. Culberson can't lay off a 97-mile-per-hour fastball up, and he's the first out of the 7th. So the Braves with a 6-5 lead. This game has gone back and forth. They had the 5-0 lead after the grand slam from Acuna. The Dodgers come back and tie it. And then Freddie Freeman, the guy they've built this whole thing around, is the one that has the big swing at this point.
Yeah, it's been a strange game. There hasn't been a lot of hits, but it's been a lot of action, a lot of walks, a couple big hits. And this has been a series where the home run has been dominated by the Dodgers, but the home runs today by the Braves are giving them life and hope that they could play another game.
And he figured it was only a matter of time for the Braves before they found it, but the problem is almost run out of time. A short series. Lucas Duda pinch hitting. Well, the last time a team got shut out, the first 2 games of the postseason, 1921.
Really?
Yeah, 1921. Until the Braves were shut out by Ryu and Kershaw. Behind 0-2. 1921 New York Giants was in the World Series against the Yankees. Yeah, you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you jog my memory.
Came back and won the series, a best of 9. They won it 5-3. Shift down for the left-handed batting Duda, acquired at the deadline. Kansas City. And on an 0-2 from Pedro Baez. He lays off ball 1. Two and two.
Just tell from the very beginning, this crowd has been engaged early, and then the Dodgers took them out of it a little bit when they tied the game up. But then Freddie Freeman's home run has put them back up, and 6 more outs. what this crowd is hoping for.
Two balls and two strikes, and Duda swings and misses at a changeup from Baez. He's got a couple of strikeouts to open his night. Six-five Braves, seventh inning, and here's Acuna. Strike one. Acuna, kind of a snapshot of the season tonight. Ignited these Braves early when he was caught up in late April, and ignited them tonight with a grand slam, make it 5-0 in the second. One.
A strange year for the Atlanta Braves in the sense that the road was better to them than home. You never know how that's going to play out with young team and young players, but played much better on the road this year, and certainly didn't show much of that in the first two games in LA.
Dodgers actually a better road team than home team this year as well. Well, they would know by this series. On game one, 6-0. Game two, 3-0. But in a fight here in game three, down 6-5 in the seventh. On a 2-1 pitch, Acuna looks at ball three. Chase would have been ball four. The count is full.
That was almost making his mind up right there. That was a ball away, and 3-1. He was expecting fastball, but wasn't disciplined enough to stay away from that one.
So now payoff. Grandal wants it up. Baez gets it there, but Acuna takes it and extends the inning with a walk.
So now it's almost a must-go situation for Acuna on first base. You try to steal a base, steal a run. See if, already talked about earlier in the season, you don't see any pitch outs, so you don't have to worry about that as a weapon. You just have to get a good jump and go on the first movement. Baez, which I don't think is really quick to home plate.
Not a whole lot with Pedro is. As Enciarte comes up. Shuffles off to a pretty good lead. One. Even better lead this time. There have been 6 stolen base attempts against Pedro Baez this year, all of them successful.
I was going to give you a Snickers.
I'll take one. You got one in your bag over there?
I'm sure the boys, Joe Simpson and Chip Carey, got them stashed somewhere in their fine booth that we're using.
Still not running on a 1-1 pitch that's low. Ball 2 on Inciarte. Ender Inciarte. He's had a huge second half for Atlanta. While a lot of guys went in the other direction since the All-Star break, he kind of got back to his form from his All-Star season of last year. And he's always been a better second half player. But in this case, it corresponded, number 1, with him dropping out of the leadoff spot with Acuna going there. Number 2, really long day of work in Washington in the first weekend of the second half, where he changed a few things mechanically and with his approach. Reset mentally. Took everything that he learned into the next day with the Braves facing Max Scherzer. And Inciarte got 3 hits that day. 2 of them against Max. Had another 3 for 4 day the next day. And that set the tone for what has been a big final couple months for him. The runner at first and 2 out. He waits on this 2-1.
Saying 100% he goes right here. Gotta go. 2-1 count. 2 straight throwovers.
Lead's been getting a little bit bigger each time. Inching off even farther. Not running. 2-2. Acuna in game 1 missed a sign. Was thrown out at second base very easily. Part of what has defined these Braves, how aggressive they've been, both swinging early in counts and aggressive on the bases much of the year. Baez winds up getting 3 strikeouts and a scoreless 7. To the 8th we go in game 3, 6-5 Atlanta. recovery, and you can help every time you tweet hashtag HR4HR. T-Mobile will donate another $1 to Team Rubicon. Braves in front 6-5 to the 8th inning. A.J. Minter on to pitch, and it's Brian Dozier pinch hitting for the Dodgers, taking ball 1.
A.J. Minter has done a nice job. He's come up with a little bit more of a changeup usage. Throws everything hard there for a while. Fastball, cutter. I think he's a left-handed Kimbrel. You put a mirror on him.
Dozier yanks a leadoff hit to left. It has been a rough go of it. Brian Dozier's 2 months in a Dodger uniform, but a big hit here to open the 8th in a 1-run game.
Well, that fed into Dozier's strength. Minter likes to throw the ball in. Dozier likes the ball in.
Came over to the Dodgers at the deadline and hit below 200 in his 2 months with the team. Tying run aboard. Cody Bellinger to the plate. Here's Minter's pitch. In the corner for strike 1. That just goes to show you the depth Dave Roberts is working with. You got a guy who has gotten MVP votes each of the last 3 seasons. Pretty much is the last man on your bench right now. And Dozier.
There's the 98. Kimbrel throws 98.
Again, this one is center cut, but you get away with it when it's buzzing in there like that. 0-2. Stays alive. Bellinger 0 for 3 in this game and 0 for 8 in this series. After his nightmarish postseason as a rookie. 6-5 Atlanta in the 8th. Dozier at first, nobody out, and an 0-2 pitch from Minter. Does well to stay alive again.
That was nasty there. And that's the difference really in the maturity of Bellinger. Just spoiled it. This one's got to bounce. He's going to throw another one to him. He's got to start over the middle and bounce. He can't lay off that.
In his first full major league season. He spent much of the summer as the closer with Arodys Vizcaíno out with the injury. His trusted left-hander out of that bullpen. A big spot here in the 8th of game 3. His 0-2 gets Bellinger swinging for the first down.
Yeah, much better. See, that's the thing where Bellinger was at a disadvantage in the 0-2 count, and anywhere close to the plate and down, he's going to have a hard time reaching it. As tall as he is, as far as he's got to go down. Same thing here as Dozier. You got to be careful with Hernandez if you're Minter because of what and where he likes that baseball.
One on, one out, and a 1-run game. Inside with it. Well, he found the zone, missed his spot, but found the zone. Strike 1. Where does Hernandez want it?
Well, I think that's where you got to go. They're setting up inside. He wants it middle in. He likes, just much like Taylor, to be able to do damage and get the ball in the air. Now, if you totally jam him and take the bat out of his hands, that's a different thing. But all of his homers are in a small little box in the strike zone. Away, nothing. Middle to middle in. That's where if there's quadrants, if there's 9 quadrants, it's in 4 quadrants of the strike zone. That's where all of his homers are against left-handers.
Setting the glove inside again. Oh, look out.
I'm not so sure of the obsession of thinking Dozier's going somewhere.
Represents a tying run here in the 8th inning. As Minter sets. This time he comes home and misses badly. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, both times they've set the target inside, but pitch has gone to the outer part.
Yeah, the only downside that I see for Minter is he hadn't pitched in a long time, right? And so the tendency is you're going to be fresh. Location may suffer, but you hope to beat the hitters with your fresh 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
On a 1-1, Hernandez hits a bouncing ball foul for strike 2. Man who had 3 home runs in the clinching game of the NLCS last year. Kike Hernandez waiting on a 1-2 pitch. And taking ball 2.
Good pitch inside, off the plate. There's nothing he's going to be able to do with that off the plate. If he catches part of that middle third, then that's a different story.
The 2-2. Hernandez flies one to center field. Inciarte has room. 2 out. Dozier tagging and retreating with Inciarte's throw flying into the infield.
I'm telling you, that little extra bit of velocity is what helped here, because that pitch caught too much of the plate and Hernandez had a real good swing. I mean, that center cut.
Minter trying to bridge it to Vizcaíno. Yasmani Grandal, weaker side of the plate for the switch hitter. First one, ball 1. And he can't find it. Dozier safe at second, and the tying run in scoring position.
I'm just telling you right now, there's not a lot of players that would have been on second base on that. That is just tremendous reaction, and knowing the circumstances. This ball doesn't get away but a foot. And a great play trying to close it up with the arm, but Dozier, that is first reaction move, and that is thinking about the game and about what ifs scenarios.
They held on for dear life. All that momentum taking him by the bag. Grandal with a chance to tie it with a base hit. Here comes a 1-0. Ball 2. Some good arms in the outfield. Acuna in left. A couple Gold Glovers in center and right, and Inciarte and Markakis. Markakis not quite what he once was, but he can still throw it. Puig waiting on deck. Here's a 1-0. Beg your pardon, that was the 2-0, and now 3 balls and no strikes on Grandal.
Based on the count, and based on just Puig's lack of success against left-handers, you cannot give in this situation.
It's a 4-pitch walk. And so the Dodgers now have the tying run at second, the go-ahead run at first, and Yasiel Puig coming up.
$19 homers on the year off of right-handed pitching for Puig, .297. Only 4 home runs off of left-handers and a .209 batting average. That doesn't seem to be, it's usually the other way around, you would think. But for whatever reason, he has struggled against left-handed pitching on the year.
So hard to believe that we've seen opponents finding a hard time trusting it. But here they will go lefty-righty with Minter, and Puig takes strike one.
Puig has struggled with fastballs against left-handers. The only pitch against left-handers he's had success has been a slider.
0-1 pitch. A bouncing ball towards the middle. Culberson gets there and throws him out to end the inning. To the bottom of the 8th in Atlanta. The Braves by a run, trying to force Game 4. Game in the 8th. First pitch that Freeman saw in the 6th, crushed for a home run. It's the difference in this game right now. Alexander stays away from him with his first pitch. It's 1-0. Dozier stays in. He's at second. Pitcher spot now 7th in the order, with Kike Hernandez leaving the game. Here's a 1-0. A ball 2.
Well, Freddie Freeman was on the receiving end of a home run, but he was also on the receiving end of Chipper Jones throwing out the first pitch. And I might say a strike. Way better than I could have ever even thought about doing. Of course, Chipper going to the Hall of Fame, and Freddie has responded with a homer.
Ahead here, 2-0. Cracks one on the ground and a bounce. It's Turner. Freeman the first out of the 8th. Let's go down to Tom Verducci.
Well, how about this game that Brian Snitker has managed? When you're facing elimination, this is how you manage a game. Like taking a wet sponge and wringing every last drop out of it. He's already used 8 players in the number 9 spot in the batting order, and he's not done yet. Now think about his path to this game, guys. 42 years with the Atlanta Braves, 28 of those in the minor leagues, starting out as a backup catcher in the minors. That's right, a backup catcher in the minors. And after 4 years, none other than Hank Aaron told him, well, we think you can be a better coach than you are as a player. Stayed in the system all of these years. There's a ton of Brian Snitker stories. It could make for a Hollywood movie. My favorite one actually does involve Hollywood. In 1987, he managed the Durham Bulls in AAA. At the end of that season, that's when and where they filmed the movie Bull Durham. Remember Crash Davis, the veteran catcher in the minors? The glove he used in that movie belonged to Brian Snitker.
It's awesome. Here's Nick Markakis punching one to third, caught by Turner, 2 out. And Brian always dreamt of managing in the majors, but it said that he kind of gave up on that dream when he was passed over for Freddie Gonzalez in 2011. At that point, Snitker was 55 years old. Started 2016 as the manager in AAA. Was caught completely off guard, completely by surprise when he got the call to take over in May after the Braves started that season 9-28 and let Freddie Gonzalez go. He thought at first they were asking him if he wanted to come up and be the bench coach, and they said no. Look, we're talking come up and manage the Atlanta Braves. That was in an interim role. First an interim, then looked at as a placeholder, and now make an argument for him as National League Manager of the Year. Here's Camargo, and Turner with another hot shot that he spears at third. All right, on to the 9th in Atlanta. The Braves with a 6-5 lead, but the top of the order coming up for the Dodgers. Fasten those seatbelts.
Electric stuff. Good fastball. Slider's the key for me. When he gets that over, he's doubly tough. And he'll have his work cut out for him.
For the pinch hitter, and Jock Peterson. Pinch hitting for Chris Taylor, then Turner, then Muncy. That is ball one. Vizcaino missed much of the season with a shoulder injury. Came back in mid-September. Was only okay over the final couple weeks, but enough confidence and enough of a lack of other options where he still is the man that they turn to in the ninth. On a 1-0 pitch, Peterson watches a fastball catch the corner, 1-1. Night where the starter Sean Newcomb went just 2 2/3. Brian Snitker trying to piece it together with 7 pitchers to extend Atlanta's season one more day. That's a swing and a miss in strike 2.
Velocity and movement.
Peterson able to stay alive, fouling off 98. Looking for his first career hit against Vizcaino. Another 1-2. Checks his swing, ball 2.
That's how nasty that pitch can be. Started him off with it, almost hit him. And threw some good fastballs, and there you can see the temptation as a hitter trying to get ready for 98. You never want to get beat with the fastball, so you think you're going to go out and get it. And then the breaking ball just under the barrel.
2-2.
Now, whether or not he can get it there, the pitch that Peterson would have no real shot at hitting would be that back foot slider. The one that starts in, looks like a fastball, but then darts back to his back foot. It's also the same pitch that Foltynewicz hit him with 2 outs that started that 2-out rally. So he's on top of the plate, fine line of error. You can't cover both away and down and in. You just can't.
The 7th pitch is ball 3, and Peterson has worked the count full. Some big hits in his short postseason track record. 3 home runs in the World Series last year. Started this series with a home run. Had a huge home run in Game 5 of the Division Series a couple years ago against Washington as well.
So impressed with Peterson last postseason and the adjustments he made.
Pops it up left side. That'll get out of play, and there will be another 9 pitches in this at-bat to Jock Peterson.
He has a unique approach where he's opening up his front side. And when he's good, he keeps his hands back and still covers, but he's really opening up trying to get to the fastball. That's why if anything spins over the middle of the plate, there's no way, based on what he's trying to do, that he could keep from swinging in.
Another payoff and another foul. What a battle going on between Vizcaino and Peterson in a 1-run game in the 9th. Pitch number 10. Ripped to right. That's going to get down and up against the wall for Peterson. Holds on with a long single as Markakis corrals it quickly and guns it into second.
Just like when we talked about with Max Fried, the more curveballs that Muncy saw, the better he was able to time it. It's the same situation here with Peterson. The more fastballs he saw, the better he was going to be. He hit it so hard that it came right back and prevented him from reaching second base.
So it's a leadoff single for Jack Peterson. Now the Dodgers' best clutch hitter, Justin Turner, representing the go-ahead run, taking ball one from Vizcaino.
And the same for Dozier when he was at first. For Peterson, he's got to look at the slider in the dirt. Be prepared to advance a base if the ball gets away at all from Suzuki.
The 1-0. Caught the corner, 1-1. Justin Turner, throughout his career, taking the approach that the pressure's on the pitcher. It's not on my own at bat, he thinks to himself. Here on a 1-1 pitch. He went around and he's behind 1-2. Trying to get him to chase again, wouldn't this time, and it's 2-2.
The hardest part. You don't have to make it any better. You just saw one of the better hitters get fooled on a pitch away, and the tendency is you're going to throw it again and make it nastier, and you really don't have to.
Tying run at first. Go ahead run at the plate. 2-2 pitch. Turner fouls it off and stays alive. Somehow with 97 bearing in on his knuckles. Vizcaino trying to put away the best two-strike hitter in the National League this year. Set for another 2-2. Turner takes ball 3.
They just make you work, man. This lineup makes you work and earn. You throw quality pitches, you're going to get them out. But if you don't, they're going to make you pay.
He takes ball 4 after falling behind in the count. Turner walks, 2 on with nobody out, and Max Muncy coming to the plate. Back in the 5th inning, Muncy homered to tie this game at 5. Kurt Suzuki heading out for what is Atlanta's 6th and final mound visit.
So Fernandez is going to take full advantage of the last one to communicate something as well. Normally, in these situations, when you're down first and second, I'd be shocked if Muncy turns around to bunt.
Yeah.
So you won't be talking too much bunt strategy here. You're talking about how to get him out.
first postseason game in Atlanta since 2013. A lot of the folks having a hard time watching. They had a 5-0 lead. Looked like they were going to cruise their way to forcing game 4. Dodgers stormed back to tie it before Freeman broke that tie with a home run starting the 6th. Now 2 on, nobody out. And the 3-hitter Muncy stands in against Vizcaino.
11 2-strike pitches in this inning. They haven't got it out yet.
First one to Muncy. This is outside 1-0. Peterson single, Turner walked, and now Max Muncy looks at ball 2.
Not missing by much, but Muncy doesn't even care if the ball's over there. It's almost like his radar says, I'm going to stay middle of the plate in, and you're going to have to paint away to get me out. I mean, that's not my strength. I'm not going to expose that part of the zone. Takes tremendous. In that first game, he saw 14 pitches, swung at 2, and hit a 3-run homer.
On this 2-0, Muncy watches ball 3. And again, the Braves are out of mound visits. If they make another, they've got to change pitchers. If it happened to get into extra innings, they would be granted an additional mound visit. Right now, they hope to not have to worry about that. Just now some stirring in that bullpen as Vizcaino delivers 3-0 and Muncy takes strike 1 over the inside corner. Brad Brock. Full count.
By the way, that's not a good feeling when you're a reliever trying to get ready as fast as humanly possible. Just firing bullets one after another. Well, he hasn't shown the ability to throw a 3-2 slider, but wow, does it beg for it.
Here it comes. Got him swinging with a fastball.
That's a great job right there. Coming back on one of the best hitters at zoning in on fastballs. Muncy shaking his head as he walks back. 3-0 count. Vizcaino just says, you know what? Pour it right there with a little tail on the outside part. Machado, so dangerous anyways. Dangerous on the first pitch.
One out, 9th inning. Dodgers with a 2-0 series advantage in this best of 5. Braves 2 outs away from forcing game 4. First one swung away and missed, strike 1. Manny Machado, the prize pickup across baseball at the trade deadline this year. Yeah, the Dodgers knew that they needed to go grab if they wanted to make another run to the World Series, if they wanted a shot at winning their first in 30 years. With a game on the line here in game 3. He swings and misses and falls behind 0-2.
2 perfectly located fastballs.
like you said again, tried to make it a little bit better.
Natural inclination is to just throw it harder. Certainly get it out there as much as you can on the outside part of the plate.
Jock Peterson representing the tying run after his leadoff single. He's at second. Turner at first. And the 1-2 pitch. He chased and gets to the backstop. The runners advance, but Machado's out number 2.
I'm telling you, you guys have no idea at home how nasty this pitch is. To see somebody like Machado swing at it that far away tells you the break, and even Suzuki could not catch it. So now that puts a lot of pressure on Suzuki and Vizcaino to throw that pitch. It's going to take a lot of trust.
And from one deadline pickup to another, from Machado to Dozier, who had a pinch hit single his first time. The Dodgers down to their final out with Peterson at third and Turner at second. Vizcaino, by the way, 4 wild pitches this season. Here we go. Instead, he steps off. Hitting a walk to start the inning. Vizcaino's come back to get back-to-back strikeouts. We're at a stare down now. Now ready to go. Strike one. One ball, one strike. 97 with so much movement. Suzuki had a hard time stopping him.
He's got electric stuff, and so far he's actually done an incredible job. When you think about first and second, nobody out, 3-0 count on Max Muncy. Probability of successful inning didn't look really good at all, and he's 1 out away from getting to play again tomorrow.
He's ready for a 1-1 and gets strike 2.
This is where it gets tough with the adrenaline, the rush. Crowd goes crazy. 2 strikes, 1 strike away. You just got to make your pitch.
Dozier and the Dodgers down to their last strike here in Game 3. He strikes him out, and there will be a Game 4 tomorrow as Vizcaino escapes the night. So 6-5 Atlanta in a game that they led 5-0. Saw that disappear with the Dodgers storming back to tie it. Freddie Freeman's leadoff home run in the 6th winds up being the difference. And John, how about Arodys Vizcaíno after the first 2 reach, striking out 3 in a row?
Tremendous job there, having the confidence to throw that slider, and a good job by Suzuki. Obviously, this game wasn't the perfect game for the Braves, but they gained a lot of experience and certainly get to play again.
So game 4 tomorrow. Decisions for the Braves on who will be the starting pitcher for that game. It'll be Julio Teheran. Will they bring back Mike Foltynewicz? Started game 1. Plenty to learn. For now, we go down to Tom Verducci.
Thanks, Joe. Freddie Freeman, 9th inning, the tying and go-ahead runs on base, and Arodys Vizcaíno pitches out of it. How long did that inning seem?
It seemed like a while. My heart's still pounding. That's what it's all about right there. This is what you work for, to get a chance to win a ball game. We got that chance, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
This is a young team tonight playing really for its playoff life. You blow a 5-run lead and win the game. What was said? How did you withstand the Los Angeles comeback?
That's how we've been all year. Really have. It's been incredible the way we've come back. Even though we had a 5-run lead and lost it, we knew we still had a chance to win this game. I was able to get a pitch up and get it over into the seats.
And for you, I know you always love to hit first pitches. Against Alex Wood, specifically your former teammate, what are you looking for?
He struck me out 2 days ago on a slider, so I thought he'd go do his out pitch with the tie ball game, so I was kind of sitting slider, and I got one up.
Game 4 tomorrow. There is a tomorrow. We don't know who's pitching, but how do you like your chances after the big win tonight?
I like our chances. We got a uniform on, so we know we got a chance. We're going to come out here and give it all again.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you.
Back to you.
All right, Tom. Dramatic one tonight. The Braves 6, the Dodgers 5, and at 4:30 Eastern tomorrow, it will be game 4 between the Dodgers and the Braves here in the NLDS. Right now, we get you to Los Angeles for more postseason coverage.